Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining Encore Palm Beach County for our special presentation from Eileen Cummings from SCORE. Eileen, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're so pleased to have you here today. So Eileen, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. I know you have quite an interesting background, so please share with us and the audience.
Thank you, Christine. I am a product of SCORE because when I hit a milestone in my life, age 40, I realized that it was time for me to start living my dreams. I was working in a career, in a job that I had worked hard to attain, but I realized that it was time for me to go into that file that I had with all my imaginary goals and start doing this using the same skills that I had, the same values that I had, but do them and use them for myself. And so I decided that while I was living in New Jersey at the time, that I would investigate a service that I had referred many people to over my years in my career. And by the way, I was the director of career services at a university. So I dealt with students, alumni, law students. So I frequently referred them to this organization that I heard of called SCORE. In the day, SCORE was referred to as, the acronym was the Service Corps of Retired Executives. They've since changed nationally the slogan, and it is actually referred to as, I hope you can see this, for the life of your business. Because the population that SCORE now serves is a broader range of individuals. So I went and I became a SCORE client at a program in Newark, New Jersey. And I took assessments on whether I would be successful in the career that I was envisioning. I had the opportunity to write a business plan. And from that point on, I, in fact, started my own business in 1986. One of the interesting things when I look back on it was that there were parts of my activity in that workshop that indicated that I was not going to be successful in my business. Another interesting factor was that I never completed the business plan. Why? Because I felt that my business was unique, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. And I felt that nobody would know more about it than I would. So therefore, I wasn't going to complete that business plan. That was a big mistake. Eventually, in about after 5 years of being in business, I hired a consultant, paid the consultant to help me to write a business plan. And remarkably, my business grew from that point. However, back to when I attended SCORE. I began my business, and my business, in fact, was unique. I was living in New Jersey at the time. I began my business, and then after 3 years of what I felt was the beginning of a successful business, one of the mantras that I have learned about my life, and I think many lives, is a two-word expression: now what? Sometimes the now what is, okay, now what? Now what am I going to do? Sometimes it's now what? Okay, now what am I going to do? Sometimes it is extremely challenging. And what happened with me at that stage was that my husband, we had learned for a couple of years, was a cancer patient. And so my care for him obviously took precedence. And when he came to me and said, I have an opportunity to move to Florida with my business, with maintaining my health insurance, which was critical at that time. He would have been 60, excuse me. He would have only been, I'm wrong about that, 49 years old at the time. So obviously I said, sign me up. So we moved to Florida. And again, another part of my personal story is that I'm always starting over. So many of us are. It's not just an age factor, it's a life factor. So many of us hit roadblocks and we have to redirect ourselves. And so this is basically what happened with me. I moved to Florida. I used the foundation that I had started in my own business, but more importantly, I think I used what I think are the fundamentals for managing careers and managing your life, which are identifying what your core values are, identifying what your core skills are, and identifying what your core interests are. Because I think, as I look at my life and the lives of people that I've interacted with through my career and my personal life, we have the highest rate of success if we can move in a direction that is consistent with our values, with our skills, and with our interests. So I moved here, and once again, as I had done so many times in my life, I started over. After one of my activities, and one of the activities that was very unique, I thought, and in fact it was, because I registered this in the US Patent and Trademark Office. But in my career, I had worked with, among many groups of people of various ages, but I had worked with police officers in developing internships and job opportunities for college students and for interns. And consistently, I would meet police officers, police chiefs, and I would say, you know, you can retire between the ages of 42 and 48. I had learned this through my research. What are you going to do when you retire? And across the board, the answer was typically something like, well, I'm going to move to Florida. This is when I began this, and I was in the New York area. I'm going to move to Florida and I'm going to play golf. Okay. And then what? And, you know, my slogan, what now? What's then when you get tired of that, when you need a knee replacement, when life happens to you, then what? And consistently, I saw that people who were in these very important leadership roles had no idea of what they might do next. They had no idea of how to develop, how to identify their values, how to identify their skills, how to identify their interests. And so this became my business. This was a core part of my business. I did it the old-fashioned way. I did all my research. I became trademarked and registered in the US Patent and Trademark Office. And then I just hit the streets, went knocking on doors. And so the result of that was, after the start of my business, I was able to, and very proud of the fact that I was providing this unique training program, which is a career development program for the New York City PBA, the New York City Police Department, for the New York State troopers, for every police academy in New Jersey, and on and on. So when I moved to Florida, I knew that what I needed to do was, once again, just start over and follow the same schedule of activities that I would coach somebody on. I identified what my values were, what my skills were. Now I had a track record, and I just started public speaking. And my first place of speaking was through the Palm Beach County Police Chiefs Association. And my good fortune was that the police chief of the town of Palm Beach was getting ready to retire.
Mhm.
And he was my first account. Now, at some point, we could talk in detail about, how I established my fees, and those are the fine points. The important thing is, how did I make this happen? Because again, we know that in life, if you want to do something, you have to do it yourself. You have to just get out, hit the streets, and just make it happen.
Exactly. And, I think, Eileen, I think you hit a very good point there. Even earlier, my thought was life is full of chapters. A lot of times we don't consider that we can do something different. It's just a next chapter. So I think, you've made an excellent point there. And especially talking about the transferable skills, people don't realize that they do have so much to bring to the table, particularly if they've been in a long-term career. And so they only see, what they did on a day-to-day, and they don't typically realize that it can be transferred into something else. And I think that's a big part of what you do. Am I right?
Very much. And it's part of what Encore does, I'm sure,
Yes.
as well. And that's where the great synergy is.
Mhm.
On a local level, I would say 13 years ago, unfortunately, 14 years ago, my husband, who was a longtime cancer patient, did pass away. And so when I was able myself to think about what my next chapter was going to be, I remembered SCORE. And point of information, SCORE nationally has been in existence for 60 years. We are part of the Small Business Administration. We're not for profit. Everything we do is offered to our clients with no charge. In Palm Beach County, remarkably, SCORE has been in existence for 50 years. And so, based on my own good experience with SCORE and my own desire to use the values and skills and experience that I had an interview with SCORE Palm Beach, and I was very fortunate to be hired, because yes, even a volunteer organization hires people. It's not an automatic. And I was hired, and since that time, I've been very, very, very fortunate to maintain my relationship with them. I choose, for many reasons, to not do the one-on-one coaching, which is one of the core activities of SCORE. I think my greatest value as the years have gone on is really the buzzword networking, is meeting services, organizations, people within the community, listening to who they are, what their goals are, and then connecting them with other people that I've had the opportunity to meet. And
Mhm.
so, yes.
Eileen, I just wanted to ask you, so what kind of services for you, how did SCORE actually help you grow your business? What kind of services did they offer? And what services do they offer for someone who's looking to grow their business?
And a great question, Christine. The services, by the way, I have learned are universal with SCORE. So I might have been a client in New Jersey, but we really conduct our business in the same way in South Florida. And by the way, our South Florida chapter originally was comprised of 2 brick and mortar locations, one on Federal Highway in Delray, which was referred to as the Boca Del Rey branch, and one on Australian, which is off Okeechobee Boulevard in West Palm Beach. As with any organization, there are changes. And so we now are merged. As a result, we're very fortunate that we are able to cover a much broader range of face-to-face meeting people. But our remaining office is on Okeechobee or on Australian Boulevard. in the Clear Lake region, right off Okeechobee. So what are the services that we offer? And understandably, like the rest of the world, the pandemic provided changes, but also opportunities. I think before COVID, we might not have been having this conversation on Zoom. So I consider it a wonderful opportunity because the range is wider. The basic services through SCORE are an assessment activity or workshop where you can, an individual can work with in a free training program to assess whether the business that you're imagining is the right business for you. And what your chances of success are, because that's what SCORE is all about, is success. Then you will be assigned, if you're a client, with a mentor. Ideally, the mentor that you're assigned, and this is all done virtually, and we have systems in place for people who manage those systems to match a potential client with a mentor who is experienced, ideally, in the field that they are imagining that they're going into. So, for example, in this expanded region of Palm Beach County, which now covers from north into Cuesta and really borders on Broward County, we have over 65 mentors, all of whom have been vetted, as I was, all of whom have skills that they can offer clients, and hopefully are matched with a prospective client who has an who has interest in an area that they are expertise in. So then, that other than the initial screening, there's a one-on-one relationship that develops between the client and their mentor. And it was based on this, I believe, that SCORE changed its slogan from Service Corps of Retired Executives. Because clearly, as you know, Christine, and our guests know, with Encore careers, retirement has a very different set of parameters today. So we have people who are not necessarily 65, 70, who are mentors. Sure, that's still many of our mentors, but we do have people who want to give back to the community, who are self-employed, who have particular skills. So we have about 65 mentors who are part of the SCORE organization. And so an individual would be matched with a mentor. And one of the wonderful things about the kind of virtual world that we live in is that mentors are very much able to network with other mentors. So if they don't know the answer to what an individual is looking for, then they can refer that individual with the support of SCORE at no cost to another mentor. So, for example, we have lawyers, we have people who worked in technical fields, we have people who've worked in pharmaceuticals. Because of the nature of Florida, we have a lot of mentors who are snowbirds, actually, and they will return to their home state for the summer. But they can maintain, through the miracle of Zoom, they can maintain their relationship with their clients. So clients can meet with their mentors virtually, they can meet in person, they can meet in an office, they can meet at any spot as needed. So additionally, we have on score.org, which is our national website, we have a whole slew of webinars and podcasts and many informational and teaching tools that are free once an individual becomes a client. So how does one become a client? One logs on to SCORE Palm Beach County, and there's a registration form, and there is and then our business management team reviews that, and there's a matchmaking process that takes place where the individual will be invited to an initial training program, an assessment, just as I was, and then they'll be matched with a mentor. One of the things that I find very important about the initial step of SCORE, because we as an organization are committed, and as individuals, we're all committed to success. Nobody wants to embark on a project when you can know in advance that you might not succeed at it. There are so many reasons for that. Finances, time, energy. So there are many people, and initially when I started working with SCORE, one of my activities was teaching the getting started in business assessment classes. I did that once a month for several years with a team of colleagues. And many times we found that people who came to these came in with an idea and then said, I don't think I'm ready for this. I don't think that that I have the education that I need. I don't think that I have the finances that I need. I don't think that I have the family support that I need, which is a really critical issue.
Definitely, yeah.
What we do is we help people to not be in a position where they're going to fail. We help them to assess, okay, then what can we do, or what can you do, or what can we do as a team to help you to put yourself in a position so you can succeed in this field that you're planning to go into. So for the life of your business, it means that if you begin your business and you have a mentor and you hit any roadblocks or you have some questions, it's not time sensitive. You can continue for an unlimited period of time with your mentor and get the answers that you need, or ask your mentor to refer you to somebody who is a certified mentor with SCORE so that you can continue for the life of your business to be successful.
Wow. It seems that you guys do so much. My thought process is, as I'm hearing you talk, is that it's imperative to find the right mentor. Now, I've been on the site, and it's for my purposes, I found that it was hard to differentiate because it's names and it gives you information about each one. But how did you select the right mentor for you? How do you feel is the best way to go about that?
When I was a client, I was assigned by the organization my mentor. Quite frankly, because I mistakenly believed that my business was, quote, unique, and that my business was, quote, special, I did not pay attention to some of the basics that I could have learned from my mentor. I would have been successful a lot sooner. And there are fundamentals to business, and I could have taken advantage of the knowledge of the mentors that I was assigned. In today's world here in Florida, the pairing is really generated now through our business manager who does the one-on-one matching. I would say to anybody who might be listening who chooses to become a SCORE client that there is a very proactive responsibility to assess whether this relationship is going to work the best for you. And if you find that it's not going to be the best for you, to review it and ask to be reassigned to another mentor. These are not personality-based decisions. They ideally are skill and interest and value-based decisions rather.
So how does one become, because this is a big part of what Encore does, is volunteer opportunities, aligning people with the right volunteer opportunities for them. So if someone was interested in becoming a mentor or a volunteer for SCORE, how would they go about that?
they would contact SCORE on or palmbeachcounty.org. I personally, because I have been involved with them now for 13 years, and by the way, my plan is to continue to be involved with them. So I would be personally very happy to make the contact if somebody finds that the website is not as responsive as they need it to be.
Okay. All right, great. So as a mentor, what is it that, or I guess this might be a little personal, but who is it that you work with? Do you have a particular industry that you'd like to work with, or how do you decide what the right person is for you?
So my role with SCORE has evolved, and I believe that the greatest value that I can offer the organization is to represent the organization at services and communities, services within the community, organizations within the community. So I personally do not do one-on-one mentoring at this time. However, I have just in recent time started using this energy that I have and this understanding that I have of how important it is that we all, as community agencies, get to know each other. I am active with some new organizations that were not aware of SCORE, and consequently, I'm bringing not only potential mentors, but potential clients into SCORE. For example, Dress for Success. Dress for Success only serves women. It is a national organization. It's based in, we have a local branch in West Palm Beach. And their goal is not only to provide clothing for women who are re-entering the workforce, but they also do training on assessments, on skills identification, on interview techniques. So I am now a liaison from SCORE to Dress for Success. I'm actually going to be on a panel next week with other people from the community from Dress for Success. And my hope is that we will act as a support to the kind of training that the professionals within Dress for Success are providing. I'm a liaison now to the Veterans Administration Hospital in West Palm Beach. There is a tremendous need for returning veterans to have some understanding and some support as they're looking at what is their next chapter. And so, again, my role is similar. I'm now part of their VAVS, Volunteer Services organization. And I've been not a demonstrator. I've been an exhibitor at some of their events, which are just open forum for returning veterans and for their families. Interestingly, they also provide clothing for veterans who need business attire to go out on interviews, and they do provide clothing for men, unlike Dress for Success. Right. I kind of began that relationship because I knew that I had clothing for my husband that I've been waiting for just the right place to donate them. I knew that, and when I realized that the VA hospital had this service, I knew that that would make my husband proud. That was an important feature for him. So this is really how I'm spending my time right now, is letting these organizations know about each other. Interestingly, the VA hospital, the VA did not know about Dress for Success. Dress for Success did not know about the VA. Neither of them knew about SCORE. And this is where I think that I use my skills in the most productive way.
Yeah, and it's very valuable. And, you know, I was having this conversation with someone yesterday. There are so many nonprofits in Palm Beach County that are all doing their own projects or their own support services. And that if we could only collaborate, we'd be able to get so much more done, because it's like everyone is doing their own thing, but collectively we could really accomplish so much more. So it's very valuable what you're doing. It really is. So you and I talked about some of your work is creating Encore careers. So tell us how you go about doing that.
I do it for myself, and I do it for people who are who might, on an informal basis, ask me that same question. And the answer for me is always the same. And by the way, it's really no different than it was when I was my first career. I was a high school guidance counselor. My next career, I was a college career services manager, working with recruiters from major corporations and identifying positions and placing students in jobs, placing alumni in jobs. Certainly no different than when I started my own business. So I would say that what I continue to do is what I would hope, because I feel that I each day am proud of the fact that I achieved some successes in what I've chosen as my field. And the first thing I recommend is identify what your values are. Let me use my own experience in that regard. As my career, particularly when I moved to Florida, started to experience some successes, I realized that there was a much broader range of, let's use as an example, police departments. There was a much broader range of police departments who had people who were retiring from the police departments who could benefit by this unique trademarked registered program. And how did I learn that? Because I did all my research, went to Washington, went to the law enforcement clearinghouse. And so I had a solid foundation for what I was doing. But I realized that geographically, it was a much broader range than what I had initially started in, let's say, Palm Beach County. Coincidentally, my family life was changing. My husband's care demanded, and would never change that, but demanded 90% of my time. I had an aging mother who was living next door to me. That was requiring another 90% of my time. And so therefore, I could not travel. Now, if I looked at my values, and we call it in career services a values clarification. One of my strong values I could not articulate it perhaps, but I know that it was a fact, was family. And so how did that influence my career? It caused me to use my skills, which is the next important feature, and to look at it in a reasonable, for me, geographic area. So that rather than try to grow my business in Virginia and Pennsylvania, which I could have done, I realized that I was going to have the highest rate of success if I was in an area that was compatible, most importantly, with my values. So that's just a quick explanation of how important values are. Sometimes people will say when they're doing a values clarification, and I'm always looking at myself as reminding myself of this, they will say that in comparing independence versus income. For me, when I do the values clarification, certainly I need and respect the income, but my time and my independence is a more critical factor to me, so that I don't look for opportunities solely based on the income. I looked at them based on is it compatible with my values? Because I'll have the highest rate of success. So then we help people, as I do for myself, as with others, what are my skills? And my skills, as you said, Christine, transferable skills. We talk about that a lot, but we often think that our skills, even on a personal level, are limited, but they're not. Our skills are through our years of experience, and all mature workers have an increasing number of skills. How can these be transferred into a variety of other positions? Forget what the job title is, forget what the hiring manager says. What are our skills? And then what are our interests? Because we're going to have the highest rate of success if we're embarking in a direction that matches our interests.
Right, right. And I'm such a firm believer in that, especially the values. When I work with clients in my coaching business, that is like one of the number one things. You need to know where people's focus is and what's really important to them. Because I always like to think that's the guidepost. That's, what's going to set you on the right path. So, and unfortunately, especially as women, I think a lot of times we sacrifice some of that for our relationships, or we're raising the family. And so, when we get to this age of life, it's like, okay, wait a minute, I need to sit down and reevaluate what's truly important and what my value system is, so that I do make the right moves, especially moving forward in the years that we have left. So that's like number one in my book as well. I think it's extremely valuable. And you did tell me too also about your goal setting, your force field analysis. Tell us some of that. I know you have something to show. Yeah, I'm anxious to see it.
Demonstration. Goal setting is, in my experience and in my work, is really a two-step project. There's an acronym called SMART goal setting. And the acronym stands for specific. What is your goal? Can you articulate just what it is that you would like to achieve? Measurable. Again, I'm going through the acronym of SMART. How are you going to know if you have been achieving your goals? Attainable. Is it realistic? Relevant. Is it relevant in terms of your values, of course, and your interests, but in terms of the community that in which you choose to embark on setting this goal? And the final letter in the acronym is timely or time-bound. And one of the areas that most people fail in their own goal setting is in that last level. They don't set a time limit to when they're going to achieve this goal. And consequently, people who don't achieve their goals often do not, simply because they've not set that time limit. So there's an activity that, and I hope you can see this, this is kind of awkward here, but this is what is known as a force field analysis.
Just move it over just a little bit. Yeah, a little bit more. Okay. Yeah, okay. A little bit to your left.
To my left. I'm a little dyslexic, so let me know.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
The idea of this exercise is that in the spine, which is the vertical spine in the middle, if somebody watching this chooses to use this exercise for their own goal setting, and I find it a very useful exercise, you can write your goal in that vertical spine. I'm going to use myself in just a minute as an example.
Just back it up just a little bit so we can see the whole thing. There you go. Okay. And what's on the bottom? Just hold it up a little higher.
Okay. I'm hoping that it has the date of when you're going to achieve this goal. But It should, because again, that's really what we want to do is we want to go through some steps in a timely way. So
Okay, just hold it up so we can see the bottom, Eileen, and then you can take it down. Okay, very good. Okay.
On my, let's see, right, it should be in green. What an opportunity to list what are the forces for you're achieving that goal within a timely way. On my left side, it should be in red. What are the forces against you're achieving that goal in a timely way? And the purpose, I'm going to put this down now, the purpose of the exercise is to help an individual to articulate, these are the reasons, these are the forces, it's called a force field analysis. These are the reasons that I can achieve this goal by this date. Or these are the reasons that I cannot achieve this goal by this date. And more importantly, what can I do to convert those forces against into a force for? So I'm going to tell you, I was going to use myself as an example, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use a woman that I know, because my new career, as Christine, we've talked about, I now have I'm part of a band, and we perform jazz music around South Florida. Unexpected part of my life, unexpected part of my career. But in order to be successful in this, even as we speak, I use the same activities, my values assessment, my skills, my interests, when I get out and talk to prospective venues that want to hire us to play music and, in this case, to pay us. So through this new part of my life, which is really not that different than the rest of my life, it's just in a different kind of an environment, I've met quite a few interesting people who are interested in the same thing that I'm interested in, which is music and enjoying and sharing music. So I'm going to tell you about one woman that I know who interestingly called me about a year ago because she wanted to become a SCORE client. She is a great singer, but she does not have the financial backing to live exclusively on the income from her singing. So she really kind of flounders around. One of the things that she does is she drives a city bus for PalmTran. And this gives her the benefits and the income that she needs. But now she has a new idea, and she's contacted me about this. And her new idea is that she now has a goal. Her new goal is that she wants to start a daycare center in her home. Now, if she and I were talking about this force field analysis, I would say to her, okay, let's talk about what your goal is. What is it that you'd like to do? Is it specific? She would say, yes, it is. I want to have, well, let's be a little bit more specific. What's the age range of children that you want to have in your home? What is how measurable is it? How many can you accommodate in your home? How are you going to know if you are successful in doing this? Okay, is it attainable? Well, if you do the right steps, probably. Is it relevant? Yes, there seems to be a need for, we hear a lot about the cost of daycare, and yes, this is something that I could do. And is it time bound? Is it a timely goal? So I would say to her, now let's take a look at the reasons you can be successful. Okay. One reason I might be successful, she might say, is that I'm good with kids. Okay. Is that measurable? Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay. What's another reason that you could be successful? I have space in my home where I could have that. Okay, let's take a look at some of in the force field analysis. What are some of the reasons that you might not be successful? The forces against your success. Well, I might need some licensing to do that. Okay. Have you given some thought to what the cost of that licensing might be? And how are you going to fund it? No, she might say, I haven't done that. Okay. You need insurance. If you've been working with your SCORE mentor, you might find that you would need some liability insurance, and you maybe need in your home where you have the space, you might need an umbrella policy. That's a force against your being successful in getting this business up and successful in a timely way. So using that as an example, what are some things that she might do to turn those couple of forces against into a force for to be successful in meeting that SMART goal in a timely way? If I could mentor her in this activity, I would say, I would advise her that she needs to start to look at what in fact are the licenses that are required. What in fact are the insurances? What is the cost of that? And maybe you're not going to be able to get that daycare started by August 1st because you don't have the appropriate licensing or the appropriate insurances. So you can then revise your SMART goal to in a more timely way so that you have time to acquire those insurances, get that business license, get everything that you need so that you can then start to market this within that community. Also, I'm thinking about that as an example. People assume when they're starting a home-based business that depending on the kind of community they live in, that they can just do it independently. However, most of us live in some kind of a homeowners or condo or some kind of a community where there are lots of rules. So let's use this woman as a potential example. And I don't know that this is accurate. Let's say that she lives in a house and has not taken care of looking at the forces for and the forces against. And she suddenly, at 7:30 in the morning, has 10 cars driving up with 10 toddlers being brought into, and let's just say she has a neighbor next door who says, wait a second, you're not allowed to have kids in this community. We're an over 55. You can't have them here for the day and you can't have them here for half a day. All the activities that this person might have put into being successful in meeting this SMART goal might be compromised, and she might be back to square one. So these force field analysis activities are so important in terms of putting our dreams into a reality. I have a slogan poster in my office which says, our dreams are like the stars. We may never reach them, but they help us chart our course. And part of what we do with SCORE, part of what you do, Christine, part of what we all do as a community is we have our dreams, and what all of our services can do and work together is to put those dreams into realities, help us chart our course, and make life in Palm Beach County the best place to live.
I think you've really amplified the value of having a mentor, someone that does have another set of eyes on what it is you want to do, to really help bring those dreams to fruition. Because without doing your homework or on whatever it is you want to do, you can spend a lot of time and energy and money in trying to create something that is not viable. And so having someone with more experience, like a SCORE mentor, then that could really help you along that path. This has been really valuable information, Eileen, and really thank you for being on board. Lowell, I see you have to leave. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
James, I know you came in late. Did you have any questions you wanted to ask of Eileen?
Not really. The last part I got was pretty clear, but maybe you can send me the recording so I can get the first 35 minutes perhaps.
Okay, yeah, and it will be on the Encore YouTube channel in about another week, so look for it there. Eileen has been a wealth of information, so I'm sorry you missed it, but we'll be sure to get it to you.
Okay.
Do you have an interest in creating an Encore career or looking at the services on SCORE offers?
Well, yeah, I've been investigating that, and Rosemary's been pushing me along. So yeah, I've been into it and been on your website, the over 50 and what have you. But yeah, so I'm still in transition. I'm still looking, but I'm pretending I'm much younger.
We all are.
We all are. Well, I'm glad.
Thank you so much, ladies. And I do want to check the first 35 minutes of that recording. I was on a call, so I couldn't get off, but thank you so much.
That's okay. That's okay. Okay, we'll get it. We'll make sure you get it to you.
Okay.
And
Eileen, thank you much. Christine, thank you much as well.
Thank you very much.
thank you, James. Thanks for joining us.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.